Hello and welcome to Buddha IAS. In this session, we'll continue our discussion on the Economic Survey 22-23. This is your educator Raghu with you. As I told you, chapter number 1 and 2 are very important because new information is given, comprehensive information is given, de novo information is given, which is very important from the point of examination. All the topics here are in flow. You have to interconnect these things. One is connected to another. And all these things are connected and they're leading to one conclusion and they are written for one thing, that is to assess the outlook for next year, which we'll be studying in this section. Global outlook for next year and also for India. With respect to the world, GDP growth is poised to decrease from 3.2 in the previous year to 2.7 in 2023. At the same time, trade volume growth will be decreasing from 3.5 to 1.0. Right? This is the most important thing. Internalize the thing. In 2022, the growth was 3.2. It will be decreasing to 2.3 in 2023. Trade volume growth in 2022 is 3.2. It is poised to decrease to 1.0 in 2023. Right? With respect to India, GDP is poised to grow at 6.5% in the financial year 24. So financial year 24 is 20, 23, 24. The financial year which will be starting in another 10 days, right? The range is 6 to 6.8. This range is given because this is dependent on the global economic and political development. That is the reason they have in fact decreased the growth. Otherwise, they say that India would have been growing more than 7%. This is a very important chart. Slowdown in global economic growth and trade. See here, for long, the GDP was near. It was near 4. It was in fact like 3.5 for long. This was majorly due to the financial stimulus and low interest rate which were given to overcome the global financial crisis which happened in 2008-9. Interest rates were very low for a long period of time. Because of that, world GDP growth was steady. See, you can see how steady it was. All of a sudden, it went negative in the corona year. It went negative. Afterward, it bounced back, and once again, it will be decreasing. Right? So, here the major factor will be Russia Ukraine war. Is the point clear? So, it was bottom, rock bottom in 20, afterwards high in 21, once again decreasing in 22, and in 23 it is poised to grow still low. And with respect to trade, it will be still lower than this. So this will be your 2.7. This here 3.2, right? Why is this so? Why? What are the reasons for that? That is the topic of this session. Global GDP growth is will be decreasing from 3.2 to 2.7. Why? Number one, majorly because of multi-decadal high inflation, there was monetary tightening. This is the main reason for that. Monetary tightening. Because of the monetary tightening, there is no capital or there is no surplus capital, or to be precise, capital is not available easily. Monetary money tightening means very like difficult. So it is very difficult for you to get money. When there is tightening of the capital, there will be decrease in growth because capital is very much important for the output, for the production, right? Can you venture any business without capital? Capital is must. So because of the monetary tightening, which is the result of high inflation, there is slowing in economic activity, especially in advanced economies, right? Clear? Clear with this? Next, prolonged strain in supply chains. As you are aware, because of the pandemic, there was supply chain disruption. One of the major reasons was China was in the supply chain of most of the products, and China adopted zero COVID policy. Not only that, there was lockdowns, so there was supply chain disruption. This was once again disturbed by Russia-Ukraine war. So there is prolonged supply chain distortions for continuously for 3 years. Heightened uncertainty, geopolitical conflict. We don't know what may happen. Are we heading towards Third World War? Here, it's a very big prestige issue for Putin. He won't let that go very easily. At the same time, like except some few countries, the all the countries are backing Ukraine, right? So like there is a lot of uncertainty. Then deteriorated global outlook because of all these things. Because of this deteriorated global outlook, risk-taking ability or risk-taking courage of the entrepreneur has decreased. They don't want to take the risk. Slow growth in economic output plus uncertainty. Think the situation. Already the growth is low and there is uncertainty. In this kind of scenario, negative growth in the global trade is bound to occur and it has occurred. That is the reason World Trade Organization has decreased the global trade from 3.5 in 2022 to 1%. And it may further go in 2024 also. And so with respect to India, the growth is expected to be 6.5 in the financial year 24. The major reason for that is we have got many domestic strength. In this, majorly our domestic consumption, our capital expenditure, and the banking and the private sector and the corporate sector cleanup, healthy balance sheets. At the same time, there are some risks also. These are majorly because of external. In those, along with those risks, there are also some brighter sides. These are the things which we will be discussing. So, because of these things, because of this risk, because of this external risk, our economy is slowing down by 0.5% when compared to the previous one. Previous year, it was at least like the advanced estimates are 7%, right? This will be decreasing to 6.5. Clear? Okay. Domestic strength with respect to India. What are these strengths? Solid domestic demand. So there is no need for us to worry about the external environment because if we cater to the domestic demand, it's more than sufficient. Increase in capital expenditure, especially by the government, it is 2.9%. The average was 1.7% for long time, for 10 years. Not only that, private capital expenditure is also picking up, increasing. Ability to quickly recover from the pandemic that we have learned by the Omicron experience. By the Omicron experience, we have come to know that it is possible to engage in economic activity despite the pandemic by localized lockdowns, vaccinations, and increase in awareness. multiple structural reforms like GST, IBC. These have increased the tax collection. That the tax collection is buoyant. There is buoyant tax collection. What is the meaning of buoyant tax collection? The increase in taxes is more than the increase in the GDP. Because if GDP increases, definitely proportionally taxes will increase. But the increase in tax collection are greater than the increase in the GDP growth. So this shows these things are because of structural reforms like GST and also IBC. Healthy banking and private sector. Very important. India has paid growth dues in the previous decade. Because of the subprime crisis, there was huge lending, huge lending. You can see that debt to credit of India's private non-financial sector was around 113% of GDP. Just it has come down to 87%. Means there is a reduction of 30% in debt. So when debt decreases, then interest payment also decreases. Means profit increases. So you can see the private non-financial sector cleanup, which was very high during 2009 and 10, now it has decreased, right? Similarly, gross non-performing assets as percentage of total advances, the total loans they have given, it was highest during 2018-19. Now it has decreased. It was to the tune of 11% of the total advances. Now it's just 5% and it's still decreasing. So what is the take home here? Since NPAs have decreased, banks are in a position to give more loans. Private sector debt is decreased, means they will be paying less interest, means they will be having more profit, they will be having more risk taking ability. This is one of the greatest strength. This all these things have happened at the time when all the global banks are collapsing. In the month of March, there are two biggest banks in USA which have collapsed. Silicon Valley Bank was one of them. But our banks are strong. Banks are very, very important with respect to growth because banks are those which give money, which give capital. If there is no capital, there won't be growth. Our banks are strong compared to the other global banks. Here you can see decline in gross non-performing assets of scheduled commercial banks. See here how it has they have decreased 21, 22, 23 in all the categories, even private banks, foreign banks, and all these categories, it has decreased. Not only that, provisioning coverage ratio, the ratio of provisioning to gross non-performing assets is also increasing with respect to all the banks. So there is no need to worry. This is one of the very important macroeconomic strength of India. Healthy banking and private sector, excessive lending in the first decade, that is 2000 to 2010, led to financial system strains, led to financial system stress and strain in the second decade. To excessive because of excessive lending, stress and strain in the second decade. So, banking and private sector, financial and non-financial sector were repairing their balance sheets during this time. Since they were repairing their balance sheets, they were not able to give more loans. Now, having repaired their balance sheets, they are in a position to give more loans, right? Because of this process, there was slowdown in capital formation in the second decade. So this financial system stress was in the form of rising non-performing assets, low credit growth, and declining capital formation. Right? So capital formation was less, credit growth was less, and there was high non-performing assets. These are very important from examination point of view. Right? External risk and brighter sides. One, with respect to external risk is current account balance. To be specific, widening of current account balance. Major, we generally have current account deficit. We don't have current account surplus. But this is worsened by depreciation of the currency and also increase in commodity prices. Two important things. And also global monetary tightening. See, this is a very important one. Global monetary tightening here, policy rates were increased. Because of increase in policy rate, interest rate increase. This was led by US Fed. In US Fed, because of increase in the interest, the gains from the bond increased 6 times in 2022. They increased 6 times. Since the yield was increasing at a very high rate, many foreign portfolio investors, these are the people who invest in bond market, they rush to US. Not only that, some foreign institutional investors who invest in long terms like businesses, factories, they sold off their assets and they started investing in the bond market because they're less risky. Then all the dollars around the world moved towards US. This led to depreciation of these currencies, right? Overall external situation is manageable. The main reason is we have got sufficient forex reserve. Let me explain this in sequence. Risk to current account balance is from multiple sources. Very important, elaborately given. Please understand this. Number one, high commodity prices. Because of high commodity prices, we have to pay more. Because of that, current account balance has widened, increased. These commodity prices, somehow they have come down, but they're still above pre-conflict levels, right? But they have decreased from the record high levels. Strong domestic demand. Here, currency is devaluated. We have become net importers. At the same time, strong domestic demand. So there is high demand. So we have to import more, right? So strong domestic demand. At the same time, high commodity price. This has further led to increase in import. Increase in import means unfavorable current account balance, right? Decrease in global demand means decrease in export, means once again current account deficit. Our export will decrease. See here, our imports are increasing. Very, very important. Our imports are increasing. Why? Number one, increase in domestic demand. Number two, high commodity price. On the other hand, our exports are decreasing because decrease in global demand. This these two contradictory, right? Domestic demand is stronger, but global demand is weaker. Currency depreciation once again has widened the current account deficit. Elaborately given, all the points are here, right? This current account deficit once again has led to currency depreciation. Currency depreciation leading to current account deficit once again leading to currency depreciation. Global monetary tightening, pace of rate hike have slowed, but major central banks have reaffirmed their hawkish stand on inflation. Means inflation is very, very high. So the global monetary tightening won't be loosened very very soon. So they will be for another some days it will be there, because they don't want to decrease till the inflation comes down, but inflation is not coming down. Extensive inflation may prolong the tightening circle. This may lead to borrowing costs to have be higher for longer. Please understand this one. Since there is high inflation, the tightening cycle may prolong. They won't be easing the tightening cycle till the inflation comes down. Because of this, there is very less availability of money. Less availability of money, or money, getting the money is very tight. So borrowing cost may stay higher for longer. What will happen if the borrowing cost stays higher for longer? Investment will be less. Investment will be less means the growth will be less, the output will be less, then economy definitely will be slowing down. So low global growth in the financial year 24. Please understand these things, interconnect the things. But there are two benefits out of low global growth. Can anyone guess? By low global growth, we have got two benefits. This is from Indian point of view. What is that? Can you think? What will happen to the price of commodities when the demand decreases? Right? Majorly, there will be decrease in the price of petroleum products. We import a lot of petroleum, crude petrol in fact. So the prices will decrease, price of petrol. That is one of the most important benefit. So here, when there is slow growth, there is oil prices will stay low. Since oil prices will be staying, which are major part of our imports, India's current account deficit will be better than currently projected, because it really accounts for nearly 20% of our imports. Right? This is clear for you? Okay. What are the brighter sides? These are very important, elaborately given. Please understand this thing. Limited health and economic fallout for the rest of the world from the current surge of COVID-19 infection in China, and therefore continued normalization of the supply chain. Till January 2023, there was almost zero COVID policy in China. But this has not affected the supply, right? Means this has limitedly affected. Limited health and economic fallouts for the rest of the world from the current surge of COVID-19 infection in China, right? So even now, if you get corona, there won't be any disruption in the global supply chain to the extent it was disturbed during the pandemic. No inflationary pressures from reopening of Chinese economy. This was once thought that when China opens the economy, there will be huge demand and there will be high inflationary pressures. No, for many reasons, China's economic growth itself is very low, especially with respect to infrastructure. And also, there is little growth with respect to fiscal parameters in China. Especially real estate in China has hit very strong. Recessionary tendencies in advanced economy, this has already triggered. So recessionary tendencies in major advanced economy triggering a cessation of monetary tightening and a return of capital flow to India, domestic inflation below the sea, right? Since India's inflation is below 6%, it is thought that if we go on tightening the monetary policy, world may go for stagnation. And as you already know, World Bank and also World Trade Organization, all these have decreased the GDP growth. and they are afraid that it may lead to recession. Because of this, monetary tightening may be eased. By that, we may be getting capital. This leads to an improvement in animal spirit. It may improvement in the change in the behavior and increase the private sector investment. Low global growth has two benefits. This we have already discussed, right? These are the brighter sides, right? Is it clear to you? So because of all these things, what is projected to be growing at 2.7% next year. Trade is expected at 1.0%. India is expected to grow somewhere between 6 to 6.8 despite of this global headwinds, right? Any doubt with respect to these things? If you have got any doubt, please let me know. Okay. If you are in need of PPT and for MCQs, please download the Buddha ISF. Those of you who will be watching on YouTube, if you have got any doubt with respect to the things which I have taught, please feel free to like mention those things in the comment section. I'll be carefully looking those comments and I will be answering those things. Right? Having said that, thank you for watching the things. And also, if you like the class, please do like and share and subscribe. This is it for today. This is Raghu signing up for now. Until we meet again, have a great day. Enjoy your preparation. Take care.